Good evening, and I hope you're well. Welcome to another episode of Be Inspired, a weekly show that we've been bringing to you for the last 3-4 weeks. I hope you've been watching them and feeling inspired. This evening, like every week, we've got an amazing guest. But what makes this guest so special is because I have to disclose this. I've known this guest for a very long time. We were actually classmates doing A-level communication. So it makes it even more special to be on this on the podcast today, talking to her, because she's an amazing inspirational figure. In fact, she was amazing then, and now, you will all get to learn more about her. I'm talking about no other than my special guest this evening, Afia Begom. Good evening, Afia.
Assalamu alaikum. Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And it's just this, as I said to the viewers, we were A-level students doing A-level communication, and we actually did a practice part of our coursework, a talk show, remember, all those years ago.
Yeah.
And now this evening, after, I won't say how many years, but a few years later, we're doing, a few years later, we're doing this a vodcast tonight, which I hope people around the world will be listening. Well, look, I want to give a quick introduction, but I'm going to hand over to you. You are Afia Begom, a mother of four, an amazing Instagram sensation. You've got over 125,000. I just checked about 2 minutes ago. I'm sure the numbers will go up after this show. People who watch you, follow you regularly since 2014 on your amazing cook of amazing food that you cook, prepare for your family, basically. But you've been educating, inspiring a new generation as well as old, on a modern twist of Bangla recipes. And not only that, you're, as I said, a mother of four, a homemaker. But as we were at college together, I can say this because I was in your class, one of the brightest person in our class, who was offered a place at Cambridge University, but you turned it down for other things that you wanted to pursue. And look, 20 years later, if I can say, we're talking about how amazing you've become. So tell us more about Afia Begom.
The journey to becoming Ophelias Kitchen is a very strange one, because I never purposefully set out to be a food blogger, which is what I do. I blog about food, I share recipes, and it is basically things that I cook for my family on a day-to-day basis. I don't do anything extraordinary. I just make what I've grown up with and that I love very accessible to people. So my parents were originally from Sylhet, Bangladesh. They were immigrants here. I'm one of 5 siblings. And like you said, I was very academic, and I never ever dreamed that I would be doing what I'm doing now as a profession. So I was very much into my studies. I enjoyed maths. I enjoyed art, singing. And growing up, I always had a different idea of what I would be doing as a career. So it was either one of 2 options. So it was either going into maths or going into what I really enjoyed, which was singing, and doing that. Maybe, I don't know whether or not I was good enough, but it was a passion of mine and a dream. And when we're all young, we all have dreams that we want to pursue and, aspire to fulfill. So those were the things that I was kind of interested in. I did my GCSEs. I was an A student, so I was very able. And from a very young age, people around me always told me to push myself, because they knew that I was able to kind of always meet my targets and exceed those. So from a young age, I've always known that I'm very competent at whatever I put my mind to doing. But I did my GCSEs, I went to college, studied with you, got an A in my communications, which is coming in quite handy, learning about how to communicate with people, how to, film behind a camera, how to use digital photography and video cameras. It's all coming in quite handy right now. Did all my A-levels, and then I think I came at a crossroads where I had to choose whether or not I wanted to pursue a career and go to university, or whether or not I wanted to settle down, start a family. And in my mind, I'd seen other people that had gone to university, and not to put anybody off that's watching out there from going to university, I saw how people, I guess, changed through 3-4 years of university. And it was something that my parents were very aware of. Oh, you know, this person's daughter went to university and they've come back very changed. And it was almost a very negative thing. And I was worried that maybe if I went through that process, that might happen to me. I don't know. But I decided I wanted to settle down, start a family, have children. And yeah, so yeah, I ended up having 4 children, and cooking was part of what I did. You know, you cooked because you had to feed your family. And initially, I'm talking about 30 years ago, 20 years ago, we never had social media. So if you learned how to cook, it was either you learned how to cook from watching your mother or an aunt or your sisters or people who were cooking in the home. We didn't have social media. You didn't have YouTube. You weren't able to think, okay, I need to cook this recipe. Let me go and see how other people are doing it. You had to watch by, you know, you had to learn by watching other people. So it was very tricky. And if you didn't know, you had to ask somebody. And sometimes you were put in awkward situations. Oh, you don't know how to cook, or you don't know how to do this. So yeah, I've learned everything that I've learned from watching others and teaching myself. And yeah, so that's how
Yeah.
I.
Well, that's really interesting. We will be coming back to that first. Thank you for that introduction. As I said, you're bright A-level student, A grade students at A-level, and I'm pleased that those lessons that we were taught has come in handy. I mean, believe me, I'm still learning. As in, you know, although I do this and I do a radio show and others, so it has come to use for me personally, and it's really refreshing to hear that, you know, those small things that we did at Albert College has also come in handy for you. So yeah, you know, because I know you very well, and I'm good friends with you both, you and your husband. So I know you've got this amazing family, right? You've got this amazing family, and the kids have grown up, and you know they've gone off to pursue and do well at university and so forth. But you decided to sort of you know, this as you said, whatever you put your mind into it from an early age, you always excel. You know, you always the A grade. So when did the idea of obviously the YouTube and the social media things just come about? How did that end up in your kind of, you know, thinking? How did the whole, you know what, all this lovely food that you were cooking, when did that spark happen that I want to put this on out there? I mean, I know it's a 2014, but when did the initial idea?
So I don't think Ophelia's Kitchen just came like as an idea all of a sudden. It was something.
You have to give us why Afelia. You have to give the brand name as well.
Okay. So the name was something that was coined by my sister. So I was always, whenever I find feeding people a very rewarding thing. So when I have guests over, my way of showing them love and, you know, affection is to feed them. And my sister will say, you know, when we come to your house, you're non-stop feeding us, like cut down on the food. So I would bake for them. I would make like battered fish and chips, you know, and it was my elder sister who coined the name Afelia, because when we were younger, we used to watch a home chef, like a celebrity chef on TV called Delia Smith. And she was like, oh, she put my name Afia and Delia together and came up with the name Afelia. So that was the name, how the name came about. She was like, oh, you're such a whiz in the kitchen, you're Afelia, you know, you're cooking up a storm all the time. And then as time went on, it was actually my sister who pushed me. She said, look, you're really good. Some of these recipes, like, people would really enjoy if you would share them, you know, open up a Facebook page. So that's where the idea initially started from. So she made me promise to call it Ophelias Kitchen when I opened the page up. And that's how it started. So I initially started on Facebook. And I did that for about a year, and I gained quite a few followers on Facebook. And then she said, look, you know, Instagram is this new app. You've got to join. It's really kind of like blowing up big there. People have got really big.
So I'm not going to give your big sister's name away because I know her too, and I think of you. But so we owe a lot of credit to her for her thinking, and she's. Can I just say she's also amazing?
Yeah, she definitely is. And I think it was because she spotted that I had this creativity that I would have been able to share with other people. I wasn't putting myself out there, that she kind of like pushed me and said, do it, you know, you've got nothing to lose. And when I started, it wasn't so that I would be famous or I would be recognized. I mean, for years, and you know this, I didn't reveal my face because I wanted my food and my cooking and my content to speak. I wanted people to actually enjoy the recipes, try the recipes, and that was what I wanted to do.
Now hold that, because that's a whole new whole discussion by itself, because I'm going to come to the whole, Afia, the whole world knows. But let's start with this sort of, so you get, I'm just going to say it. So your wonderful sister, who's a good friend as well, Sophia, who got you to sort of, be this person, and you're kind of anonymous. All it is the creativity, the flavor, the color, the richness of the food is showing, right? And you slowly build up Facebook and Instagram followers, right? So from 2014, you start to put some of your amazing dishes on out there for people to see and for people to learn and to replicate, to innovate. So to talk us through that.
I mean, when I first started sharing recipes, I wasn't sure if there were people out there that were willing to try it. So it was literally me just posting, right, I made this for my children today for tea time. This is how I did it. What do you guys think? If if you try the recipe, let me know what you think. And slowly I started getting feedback from people saying that, oh, this is really tasty. I gave this recipe a try and it's really, really good. So it was just through feedback and from what people were saying, I was kind of then venturing out into doing newer recipes, different things. And a lot of the time people would come back to me and say, can you share traditional recipes? Like, I don't know how to cook sutumas. I don't know how to make sutumas, or can you share a hutki recipe? Because it's something that I've grown up eating, but I don't know how to make it.
For all our non-Bangladesh viewers, shutki is the dry fish, the kind of, the traditional
curry.
Dry fish curry. Yeah, go on.
So it was things like that. And then after I had my Facebook, I had Instagram, I had other people who were saying, we don't have social media. I don't have a social media account and I don't want to join. Do you have a website? So it was just a natural progression. And then we kind of thought, okay, if we're going to launch a website, we need to brand ourselves so that people, and this is, I can't take credit for that. This is something that my husband did. He was the brains behind branding Ophelias Kitchen, giving it a look, giving it a name, something that people could kind of instantly look at and associate to, what I was doing. So he came up with the website logo with somebody that he knew, and they designed the website, and slowly we started adding recipes to the website.
Okay, so as the following, I'm going to share this because so your husband and I and a friend from college days, right? We met up, and over dinner, two of us say to your husband, "So, oh, we know what you had dinner last night." He looks at us like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Listen, we follow Afia on social media." I mean, so from you are relatively, even from that, I mean, obviously you had an amazing, I still remember when you first been introduced by your sister to us at college, saying, "This is my younger sister," right? We knew who you were, but you always sort of, quiet. You're very confident, but you weren't very, in your face. So that showed through your initial stage of your Facebook and social media side, that all you got to see was your hands and your food, and you talked over it, and your, I would say, a wittiness, and you feel captivated by your, I mean, those who know you and are listening will share that, or will agree with me. But for those who haven't, I'm sure when they go on your site, they'll realize your old videos, even now, you talk people and you carry them along with you. So that sort of initial change from just keeping your video focused on the product, on the recipe. I mean, was that a conscious decision, or was that something because you just thought, I don't want to be known?
I mean, it wasn't that I didn't want to be known, but like I said before, I wanted people to focus on the content, focus on the recipes, on what I was doing. So I guess it was a conscious choice not to share my face. I didn't want to deal with everything that comes. Instagram is a really wonderful place, and you can learn lots of new things. You can, meet people who have the same interests as you, and, share and exchange ideas. But it can also be this place where people are very critical. People can be very unkind. And I didn't want to expose myself to that, because very early on, and I'm just going to lightly touch on this, very early on, I did experience some negativity from other, accounts who I think felt a bit threatened by this new kid on the block. She's just joined and she's racking up these followers, and what's she doing right that we're not doing wrong? And there were a few people who were actively reposting my pictures and accusing me of things, and it was just not a very nice experience. And what I decided to do was shut out anything that was negative and focus on what I was doing. I mean, in my mind, there are only 3 things that you really need to do in order to grow a good Instagram account. Do what you do. Number 1 is do what you do and do it to the best of your ability. Your content is what is going to draw people in. If you're doing food, people should look at it and think, that's a plate of food I want to eat. How do I cook it? So that's the main thing. Your content should be really good. Also, you want to kind of like make it accessible for people. It should be something that's really easy for people to do. And I think the way I break down my recipes and I make them easy to follow, people are like, that you're doing it right, because there are stages that we can follow and we can look and make sure that we're doing it correctly. And the other thing is, you want to stay away from any drama and negativity. Just do what you do. I think people find it very easy to get wrapped up in the whole Instagram community and who's friends with who and who's not, friends with who. I try to avoid all of that. I come on, I do my thing, I go off. I have a life outside of the app, and
yeah, we know, yeah.
And I wanna keep that balance. It's not. I think people sometimes forget it's not reality, and we don't sit on our phones all day long. And you want to get that right. You want to get a balance between your real life, what's important, and making.
Well, I'm sure when people who are new to this and are watching you, or who've been following you but haven't had that exposure to your kind of that conversation, because as you said, you don't sit there. It's not your daily thing. You have a family. You've got a husband and extended family members and the children to look after. I mean, that's what really strikes. When we sort of featured you on BB Power, a lot of people were like, yeah, we like her because she's, obviously we didn't say we know you, but we put it out there. People were like, yeah, we like her because she is really authentic. I mean, like you said, there's like an industry out there, right? People plug in people in big companies who I'm sure are knocking on your door now, and will, if not, a lot of them will be soon. And it becomes less authentic. Yes, the content is still great, the food recipe is still great, but it's not like, as you said, you're thinking it's 7 o'clock, right? What have you done like this afternoon to prepare dinner for, and I hope I'm not keeping you away from your children this evening.
No. We've still got some leftovers from last night that they have.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing about you, right? It's not always about, hey, let's cook this amazing brand new fresh dish. It's about, how do you, like we were brought up as a family, our parents didn't have lavish wealth. No. It's about how do you, save the food? How do you reuse it? But you add a
stretch, how do you make one meal stretch into 2? And it is about that.
And also, as the young generations, their palate has changed. How do you put a twist to a traditional Bangladesh? I mean, I got to ask you for 1 or 2 of your favorite modern twists, right? Because I think a lot of viewers will want to know how you did your fish finger chutney. I mean, borta. I mean, that's like everyone's favorite.
That's actually something that my brother picked up when he went to stay with a family. Like, he used to work weekends. He was at university and he used to work weekends. And I think it's something that he tried with the family that he used to stay with. And then he came home one weekend and he said, you guys have got to try this fish finger chutney. And we were like, looked at him like, what? Like, fish finger chutney? Really?
Yeah.
And we tried it and it was like, wow. And it just became a staple in our family. And it's one of those recipes people kind of like lift an eyebrow up at and think, you really want me to, make a chutney out of fish fingers? And it's until you try it, you kind of like don't believe that it works. But I think a lot of my followers will definitely vouch for this. Sometimes I do things that are quite unorthodox, or in cooking you wouldn't think that would go, but until you try it, you don't know what works. And I'm quite experimental in my cooking, so I'll give it a try. Like the other day, it was quite funny. We went shopping, we emptied out the freezer, and I had 3 battered cod, and I was like, okay, it's not really enough to kind of like share out between 6 of us. What can I do with it? So I topped it on top of some baguettes, and this is what I mean. Like, I'm willing to give it a go. Sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't. And the recipe was an absolute flop. Like, the kids said, "Mum, don't ever cook that again." It was.
So they're very harsh. Harsh on it.
They say it how it is, and because they're my kids, they don't shy away from it. So if it's good, they'll be like, "Yeah, it's good," and if it's rubbish, they'll be like, "No, don't ever cook that again." So they are quite honest, and that's when I know that I'm onto something, or if I should avoid a recipe altogether, you know. But yeah, definitely, I think with food, you not only want to teach people how to go and buy ingredients and cook something fresh, you also want to teach them how to repurpose leftovers, because in our in our parents' generation, repurposing and turning one old curry into something new was very, you know, it was done. And I think
people pay a lot of money. People pay a lot of money now to go and have dishes that are been, you know, I'm not going to name some of the restaurants, but, you know, you go and you have that. Do you remember the well, not remember, we still have it, right? The dry meat, you know, in certain restaurants, they're not famous for. I'm like, hold on a minute. You know, we used to have that on you know, so what was cooked on Sunday, we had it on Tuesday, and that was the dry meat.
I have a recipe for guspidan, which is basically just cooked, like a cooked curry. You wash the masala off, and then it's twice cooked. Basically, it's almost like pulled chicken. So what do you do when you do pulled chicken or pulled beef? You cook it once, and then you pull all of that meat, and then you cook it again. So I mean, Bengalis were doing it years ago, and it's that same kind of concept. Make something new. So I do guspidan burgers, which is a really easy way to kind of like repurpose that meat that's just lost its kind of like curried touch to it. So you reinvent it, put it in some burger buns, add some, you know, sauce, salad, and the kids love it, you know, and it's a completely new meal.
So in terms of like, stick to traditional dishes, right? I mean, one of the nice things that I've heard a lot of people say to me, and just the fact that I follow you on social and speak to people, is that how you've kind of reconnected through food, a community. You know, so our generation, you know, how some people, you know, for them, fast food or just eating out or just trying different things, you know, it was like it was like fashionable to be away from your own food. You know, it was like, I'm not saying people, you know, sort of shying away from eating with their hands or knife and, you know, using knife and fork. Although I do have a high quality of eating ilishmas with knife and fork. I've tried it once. Yeah.
How did that go?
No, not bad, not bad. But what the reason I'm sort of trying to connect this is that you've now connected that our generation and others, a younger generation as well, to our community by food. I mean, how do you feel about that? It's really, you know, over 100,000 people watching you, and some of those people feel like, you know what, my Banglaism is coming back because of the food.
Alhamdulillah. I mean, whatever I'm able to share and inspire people to kind of like try and reconnect to, it's a blessing. You know, I can't take credit for it. You know, Allah gives barakah in different ways, and you know, all blessings are from Him. So I'm honored that people see me like that, or they think of my page as a source to kind of like go to if you want a traditional nunobora recipe or you want soy fita recipe. So I received a lovely message the other day from a follower who she was saying thank you, basically, and she was saying that I'm really, really thankful for everything that I've learned, because all of my cooking knowledge comes from you. I haven't learned it from my mom, I haven't learned it from my sisters or my aunties. Everything that I know about cooking, I've learned from watching how you cook, and that's quite profound for somebody in this day and age to say, you know, when we've got so much knowledge, I mean, that's accessible to us. You've got YouTube, I mean, you can take up courses, but for her to actually acknowledge that, you know, most of her cooking knowledge comes from watching how I do things. And I do think it is those small things that we do off camera that people really admire watching. So it's really funny when I'm prepping vegetables, people love watching me use my knife to cut onions. They love watching me use a dal. From a very young age, I would admire the way
those thinking, what is a dal? I mean, you'll have to go on your Instagram page to see it.
It's a big tool that is traditionally used to kind of like prep fish and vegetables in Bangladesh. It looks very dangerous, but once you've kind of like mastered it, it's very easy to use. So a lot of people enjoy watching how that skill is done. And I remember watching my mum as a young girl and admiring how she would get so close to the blade with her fingers, but she'd never cut her fingers. And I always said to myself, I need to learn how to do that. And I've taught myself. A lot of people are like, were you born in Bangladesh? I'm like, no, I was born and brought up here. But I taught myself how to do all of this because it's something I wanted to do. And that's what I mean. If you put your mind to something and you really want to do something, you can do it. You just have to work hard enough to do it. So it's an honor. To be seen as somebody who's kind of like putting Sylheti Bengali food out there, and the fact that people have my website as a resource where they can just kind of like go in and type, oh, I need a recipe for tenga, or I need a recipe for tenga is a sour fish curry, by the way. So yeah, it's a real honor just to be able to be regarded as that kind of source for recipes.
Thank you, Afia. Friends, if you've just joined us, you're watching Be Inspired, a weekly show where we bring you a high-profile person to inspire you. And this evening, I'm really delighted to bring. In fact, I am truly, because she's an old friend, a family friend, who we studied together as an A-grade student. She was, who turned out a chance to go and study in Cambridge, but pursue her own choice, and 20-something years later, she's out there, sensation, being an iconic figure in the community who is inspiring a generation to pick up, I was going to say the da, but pick up this, the spoon and start cooking and making amazing dishes that our parents have, one time feeding us and teaching us, our grandparents' dishes and so forth. But so 2014 onwards, you build up the followers, and wow, 2018, we feature you on BB Power, and I very sneakily get a hold of a picture of you, thanks to your husband, and I put you out there. And that one evening, you do this post from Tower Bridge, I think it was, saying to the people, you're on your way to BB Power at Tower Bridge, St. Catherine's Dock, and then afterward you put a picture out there, this is you, and then wow. I mean, there was like thousands of people commenting. I remember that night I came home, it was like 20-odd thousand, literally from 8 o'clock in the evening till about midnight. 20,000+ people liked it and was commenting, obviously praising you and so delighted. Now, I want to talk about your Afelia business, but on the side of that, you also you're very entrepreneurial, right? Let's not, you are an inspirational figure from your cooking, but also from a business savvy mind. You've got another Instagram page where it focuses on modesty wear and very fashionable clothing item, jewelry, and that you've been doing that for a number of years too.
Yeah, that was something that I set up alongside Ophelias Kitchen. It's things that I'm interested in. And what happens is people are like, oh, where did you buy this from? Where's your necklace from? Where are your clothes from? And there are a handful of people who really kind of like the way I dress, or like how I accessorize my outfits. So it made sense to kind of keep that a little bit separate from the people that were following me for my recipes, because I didn't want to be boring them. There are people who just come for the recipes and they're like, we just want to follow your recipes. We don't want to see what outfit of the day you're wearing. So when I created my Ophelias Kitchen account, I did create another Ophelias Gems account, because it's actually something that I really like. I like dressing up. It's no secret. I love dressing up. I love going out, wearing nice clothes, matching my handbags and my shoes, like most women do. So yeah, I know
some guys do it too as well. I know some guys,
yeah. So I wanted to keep that separate, but have something there where people could, whoever was interested, could go to and be like, okay, she's got something here that we can kind of like look at.
The reason I bought this, obviously, we know through social media, some of the big grand A celebrities are getting endorsement and so forth. But now that you have a steady followers and you've got a loyal fan base of people who come to you, I mean, this is something that you will want to do, which is obviously to showcase things. So, I mean, your lovely kitchen, for example, in the background, and which tea product. I mean, I know you love your tea. Your biscuits. I mean, these are things that opportunity will come. Because the reason I want to, I want people to see that there are opportunities, not just you cooking and feeding a family and you showing it.
Of course not.
It is a potential income source out there.
I mean, it's not just, like you said, about sharing recipes. That's a big part of it, and teaching others. And it's very, I think it's a very honorable thing to do, to be able to teach a whole generation of people. I'm not saying that I'm the only source of knowledge, but it's, to teach people how to do things that maybe, they've not seen their parents doing, or they don't have a mother-in-law, or they don't have a mum or somebody they can ask. And I'm honored to be able to do that. But like you said, along with the big following, you do get a lot of companies approaching you, and I've been very blessed, alhamdulillah, to be able to work with some really, famous brands, supermarket chains who've wanted to work with me. And these opportunities have only come about because I have a big following on Ophelias Kitchen, and people, I think my audience know that when I work with somebody, or when I recommend a product, it's because it's actually really good. I'm very selective about who I work with. I'm very selective about the kind of products I endorse, because I know that people earn hard-earned money. I want them to spend it sensibly and wisely. I wouldn't want to just put something out there and say, oh, this is excellent, if it really wasn't. And I think my audience really kind of like appreciate the fact that I'm very honest with them. If something's not good, I will say, look, don't waste your money on it. And if it's good, they know that Afelia's Kitchen has recommended it. So I get asked about everything from not only my clothes. People will ask me, what pots should I invest in? What knife should I invest in? Can you suggest to me whether or not I should go for a gas cooker or an induction cooker? And having, experience cooking on lots of different kind of like different types of cookers, you have that knowledge, and it's people want that knowledge, want your expertise, advice. So yeah, I think there's definitely avenue and scope to make money and make a good living out of doing things on Instagram. For me, that was never the sole aim. For me, I just wanted to share recipes, put good food out there, which is one of the reasons why my website has no adverts. It's a very clean website. I mean, it makes business sense to kind of like invest in yourself, and the only way to do that is to create revenue and buy equipment so that you can shoot better videos for people to watch and people to learn how to cook. And you need to invest in your own brand, your own company. And part of our, I think, moving forward will be to kind of like restructure the website so that we can have some sort of advertising, so that all the money that we generate from that can be pulled back into the Ophelias Kitchen brand, and we can do newer, bigger, exciting things with it.
Excellent. We look forward to that. Now, going back to the whole, unveiling so you do this sort of Tower Bridge. If I remember, you're in Tower Bridge, and you sort of and because you said you've got this great taste for music, right? So your snip of an Instagram song, it kind of like gets you nostalgia, thinking, yeah, I want to listen to that track now. And as you said, you go and you'll buy product, you'll buy food, you'll buy recipe, you'll buy spice that you will then use. And you did that for 10 or whatever years that you were doing your before you were your face was plastered. In somewhat just like every other person, nobody's but now that your face is like there, people know who you are. What's the difference? I mean, obviously family must have an experience of like, oh, there's more people stopping mum or stopping my wife or stopping my sister out in the shopping when you're going to get your faluda. You can't just pop in. There's someone like, oh, I know her. I mean, how has that been?
It's strange because before, I'm talking about before my face was out there. So even before I had actually put a picture of myself up, because after you featured me on BBPI, that's when I thought, okay, my face is out there, so people kind of will know what I look like. So maybe I should show them what I look like. But before all of this happened, I would sometimes go shopping and people would recognize me from my voice, because that's the only kind of clue that they had to who I was.
Absolutely, yeah.
And sometimes the level of detail that people pay attention to when they're not actually looking at your face, it's astounding. So I once went into Marks and Spencer's and I was served by the cashier there, and I was speaking to her and she was serving me, and then she said, "Are you Ophelias Kitchen?" Just out of the blue like that. And I was like, Yes, I am. How did you know? She's like, oh, I saw your necklace, you know, and I've seen that necklace in a video of yours that you put up on YouTube. And I knew, I recognized your voice instantly. So it was things like that where people would kind of like recognize my voice or recognize, you know, bits of clothing that I'm wearing. And they'd have the courage to, you know, come and ask me, are you Ophelia's Kitchen? Obviously, moving forward, after I've shown my face, a lot more people recognize me. Some people message me after they've seen me on the street or they've seen me somewhere, and they'll say, we saw you here shopping, but we didn't have the courage to come and say hello to you. And I always say to people, I'm very approachable. I talk to people, you know, stop and say hello if you bump into me, because, you know, you watch me day in, day out. You watch me daily. You almost feel like you're watching a family member, because people tune in every single day to watch me from my morning.
I'm going to try to embarrass you, but we were having a laugh, me and my wife, as 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 years ago at the Halal Food Festival, you know, in Tobacco
Yeah.
Dock. We were watching you from. We said hello to you, and you know, and then we were watching you as you were sort of going, and every person pretty much in that food, you know, the demo area, we wanted to take a selfie with you. I thought, oh my god, that's so. I mean, and you were so nice. You more or less did. You know, everyone who said they want to take a picture with you, obviously, selfie is the new thing, right? You know, you were there, so it must be nice. And I guess for your children to have a mother whose talent is now, you know, their friends, their peers. I mean, it's not like something, you know, a politician or a footballer. You know, they don't score the goals, or you know, that you pretty much have people who come to you because they like you. You know, it's not that you're a politician, you can be liked or disliked. You know, you're there because, you know. So I guess your kids never have anyone saying no to them for coming around for dinner.
So what you were saying about the demo, I mean, it's really nice because of these fans, followers, whatever you want to call them, I am where I am today, and I've had a lot of opportunities, and these opportunities would not have come this way had it not been for my loyal, you know, supporters. So I'm really grateful. So thank you to everyone out there who supports me, watches my content, you know, tries out my recipes, and just, you know, spurs me on. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if it wasn't for their continued support. So I just want to put that out there first. And it's a really nice feeling. I mean, people say to me, how do you feel, you know, you're a celebrity? And I kind of like look at them and say, I'm not a celebrity. Like, people say, we talk about you in our circles, we have group chats, and we, you know, someone's always cooking one of your recipes, and we'll say, oh, this person made this, or can you make this, you know, she posted a recipe for this. And it's really strange. I mean, a lot of the times my followers will say to me, you know, we were talking about you last night amongst our little circle. It's funny, I had a follower message me the other day. She's from Luton, and she said to me, I dreamt about you last night. And I was like, how odd. But this is what I mean. The level of, I feel like some of these people are like almost like family members. So I dreamt about you. You came to Luton, something went wrong, and you know, you had to stop at someone's house, and you called me, and I made accommodation for you, and you were at my house. And I hope that kind of like materializes, which is really, really sweet when you think about it. But yeah.
You know, absolutely. I think, you know, like I said, the whole genuineness, you know, and I'm sure, you know, every person that I bring on the Be Inspired show is there because they're inspirational and they do things. But obviously what makes it special is that because we've known each other since we were young teenagers, to showcase you, you know, as I said, doing what you love doing. It's not that, you know, you put yourself out there to be this Instagram, you know, sensation. You're literally doing what you do for your family, for your kids, for your husband, your children, and your extended family members. And then
come in there and just say, you know, what you're saying about me doing what I'm doing. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people relate to Ophelia's Kitchen or myself, is because they can see it's a very real, very genuine account. There's no fakeness. You know, sometimes I don't have the energy after I've cooked 3-4 curries to then plate it up and make it look all glamorous. It is literally, kids have cooked, come and help yourself to, you know, whatever I've cooked straight from the pot. And many of us that are Bengali, we know that that's how we eat. You know, our parents cook for us and they leave it there, and then whoever's hungry comes along and just helps themselves. So I think there is that kind of like realness. And I do try to keep it real. A lot of people say to me, oh, you're amazing, and how do you juggle everything? The truth is, something's got to give. So I don't pretend that I live in a perfectly proper looking house. Like, you can see a really tidy kitchen behind me, but you can't see what's on the other side.
No, hold on. What I will say to you is that I've seen you do post cookings, your cleaning. In fact, I've watched your cleaning once or twice, thinking, I'm going to try that. See if I can get my kitchen looking good. Impress my wife. No, you do. I mean, like I said, you don't just show the glamorous, as in the look at the lovely food. You also show those wonderful tips about getting certain things clean and stuff. I think that's what makes it really genuine. Look, I mean, I'm conscious of time, and I'm taking a lot of your time because I'm sure you're going to cook up a lovely dish for after the show, and you will be watching on Instagram. But just want to quick fire questions, because obviously, as I said, you're appealing to the younger generation who want to kind of connect to their roots and learn about their Bangla food for a number of reasons. You could be like you didn't want to go to university far, but there are those who have chosen to go, but they still miss their I remember from the BBPI, we did an event at Oxford University with the Bangladeshi students, right? And it was a really nice event. And then I said to one of the girls, she was from the East End, right? So I said, what do you miss most? She goes, chicken and chips, in it. I said, okay. She goes, she misses that. And the other day you did a fry recipe, of food, and I'm sure someone like her could learn things and also experiment. And so you're giving that confidence. But where do you see both yourself and the sort of the traditional food dish and going, obviously, as modern technology and other things? Where do you see yourself going in 5 years? Because I'm sort of hinting towards, is there a book coming out?
Well, actually, it's funny you should mention that, because last year when I should also mention to people who don't know, I have a home account. So last year when I was renovating my kitchen, which started in 2018 and didn't get completed until earlier this year, we started a kitchen extension, garden, a whole renovation. And it took a very long time to do, and a lot of people were interested in that journey. So I have a separate home account because lots of people wanted to know what cooker I was buying, what kitchen units I was buying, who were the company that were going to be supplying my kitchen tiles, all of these things. So people wanted to follow that journey because they were either in similar situations or they were going to be doing something similar. So I launched that home side of it. Right about that time when I was renovating, this is what I'm losing my thought here. Right about that time, I was approached by a company that wanted to work with me to publish a book. And it was just the wrong time. I wasn't able to kind of test recipes. They said, look, we need 60 to 70 recipes. And they were based in America, which I wasn't too keen on because my fan base and majority of my followers are in the UK. So I wanted to work with.
Is it though, with a global community? We know this because, as I said, we've got common friends and we know people. I've been in different parts of the world, and I said, oh, have you checked this out? Oh yeah, we know her. It's like, really? Like, yeah, we follow her. So I mean, you've got followers in North America, I know for sure, in the Middle East, and even in Bangladesh. Let's not assume that everybody in Bangladesh got access to families. There are people who are very cosmopolitan, and so there are people all over the world who are part of your network. So the book is something coming.
Inshallah. I'm just trying to work out how it would kind of work for me, trying to find the right publisher. If anyone's watching and they want to work with me, then definitely approach me. I have been approached by one book publishers, and I just need to get the conversation going there. But my followers have been asking for a long time, and it's something that I would love to kind of give back to them.
Okay. Well, look, I'm going to fire some quick fire questions because I want your answers. So what tea brand do you drink?
Yorkshire tea.
Yorkshire tea. Okay. What's your 3 Bangladesh?
Oh, 3 Bangladesh. What, my favorites?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you love preparing or eating, or
Akhni Fulab, because my kids absolutely love that and I like that. Kurma, which I've not shared a recipe for yet. I'm going to be saving that for the book. And what else? Oh, a satni, any type of satni, mackerel satni.
Okay. And in terms of, are you more of a borta or a shira person?
Oh,
by the way, shira is the sort of gravy. You like?
I would have to say shida because butters go off too easily for me. You can't kind of like eat
There
them.
you go. She's being sort of thinking practical. Yeah. Um, and you know, as when you get up, when you have your tea and your cat sort of, you know, wander around the kitchen, how do you choose what dishes you're gonna? And the reason I say that is I want to get your science right. So next time I see your husband, I'm like, listen, I want some of that food.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm thinking, yeah.
yeah.
I don't actually like. I know a lot of people kind of like meal plan, and they have their set meals for what day, you know, what they're cooking on what day. I don't actually do any of that. I'm an organized, disorganized kind of person. So I know I'll decide on the morning what I'm cooking depending on what I've got in the fridge, what needs using up, what I've got left over from the night before, and it kind of like happens spontaneously in the morning or just before I'm about to cook. So I'll be like, kids, you need to go and get me some chicken because there's nothing to cook right now and I need to cook. So I don't plan like, I know some people like to weekly plan, some people like to meal plan fortnightly and they know what they're cooking exactly on what day. I don't do any of that.
Okay. And because we're coming to the end of the show, right? We live in the world where everybody's watching it, what they eat and what they want. And I say this, and I have to sort of do a disclaimer to the viewers because I know Afia very well. We've been friends from when we were teenagers, right? A mother of four. In terms of what you eat, and obviously there are people who will love you and will watch what you are preparing and think, oh, I can't have that because obviously I need to watch what I'm taking for health reason or just because of beautification. How do you balance that?
You know what? I'm very fortunate, alhamdulillah, in that I've never really watched my weight. So a lot of people do ask me, you know, how is it that you eat so much or you cook so much nicely?
No, I was going to say you cook so much. Afia, I'm not saying you eat too much.
Well, you know, I cook so that I can eat it, but
Of course, yeah.
I'm just very blessed in that I've got genes where I guess I don't put on weight easily. I'm certainly not the size that I was 10 years ago. I think up until I had my 4 children, I was kind of like very slim, very slender, never watched what I ate. And it's when I started hitting my mid 30s, I'm in my 40s, by the way, no secret. When I started hitting
No, we're not 40 yet. We're not 40 yet.
That I started noticing I was putting on weight, and I think I've just gone with the flow of things. I don't think there's anything that you can do other than, you know, slave away at the gym, which I'm not willing to do. Like, I do try and keep fit. I do try and go for walks and, you know, exercise where I can. If I can walk somewhere, I won't take the car, I'll walk. But I enjoy my food, and I think a few people have mentioned that we like the fact that you share that you're eating, you know, and you're not starving yourself, you're not depriving yourself, and your page isn't constantly about restricting food. You enjoy it and you share that, and yeah, that's the honest truth. I've never watched what I eat. I can't do diets. I'm really, really bad with diets. Like,
Okay. Well, look, I really wanted to get that question in because, as I said, you know, sometimes just looking at the food you prepare, you know, it's like it's enough to put on weight, right? But I'm just really pleased you said that. Well, look, it's been so good talking to you. You know, from all those years ago when we did our A-level communication project where we had to do a mock TV show to now doing it 20 odd years later. Thank you so much for your time. I want to ask you to sort of finish off by saying there are people who are watching at home think, you know what? I've been doing this. I cook the same kind of food. I love to do what Afia is doing. What advice? It's not about, you know, more competition. It's about more inspiring others to sort of fulfill what you're doing. What advice would you give them?
I mean, I always say this to people, and I get a lot of messages from people who say, you know, you've inspired me to create my own Instagram page. And I would always say, if you've got a passion and you enjoy doing this, and you enjoy cooking and you want to put your cooking out there, definitely share it with people, because the way you do something is going to be different to the way I do it. So there's always room for everybody on this platform, because people might like something of mine, but they might love something of yours also, which is done differently. And I think you just got to be focused. Like I said, keep your content, you know, to the best of your ability. Try to keep it real. You know, if you're not real, and I think this is part of the reason why I've been able to do it for so long, is because I haven't been doing food that I don't eat on a daily basis. It is what I eat all the time. It is what I'm cooking for my family all the time. And that longevity is what you want. You want to be able to do it and keep it real. And just avoid kind of like any negativity, drama. Do your thing and do it to the best of your ability, and people will naturally follow.
Afia, thank you so much this evening for being on Be Inspired. I hope everybody at home has enjoyed watching.
Thank you for having me.
No, pleasure, absolutely pleasure. And I look forward to, when this pandemic is over, to come and taste some of your wonderful recipes in your new wonderful kitchen at the back. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I'll let you get back and enjoy your supper. Viewers, I hope you've enjoyed this evening's show. Once again, we've had another fantastic participant, Afia Begom. If you haven't seen her Instagram, Facebook page, do go and check it out. I hope you've enjoyed and watching us. We'll be back next week, 7 o'clock, with another inspiring figure to give us that motivation to inspire us. Until next week, stay safe. Good evening.